All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Creative Mornings. This is going to be our fourth virtual Creative Mornings event, so I hope everybody has their coffee ready to go. I'm Stephen Wilhelm. I'm the host for the Calgary chapter. So we had about 40 people sign up. Most of us have made it online here. There was an issue with a link. But I think we're all good. And we also have a few international guests and also a handful of people here today who have never registered or been to a Creative Morning event. So before we get started, I'd just like to spend a couple minutes and let you know what we're all about. All right. So Creative Mornings is a monthly breakfast lecture series for the creative community. Creative Mornings is currently in over 215 chapters, 67 countries, and 20,000 people like yourselves attend Creative Morning Talks every month. And our events are and always will be free. The Creative Mornings Manifesto really sets the tone for our events and shines a light on our values here at Creative Mornings. And we have just slightly altered it for our new virtual world that we're living in. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in jazz hands and waving from 6 feet away. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome. So that's Creative Mornings. We're excited to have you all on the call today. And just to make sure everyone can engage and connect as much as possible, we are going to go over some Zoom details before we dive into our event. And I'll just, okay, so we do have lots of wonderful faces on our call today. So the first thing I'd like to ask is if I'd like to invite you to turn on your cameras if you like, and share your wonderful faces with the community. As well, don't be shy. Feel free to give snaps emojis or jazz hands emojis through the call. There's the keyboard shortcut here. You can also send some love in the chat box throughout the call, which is located in the bottom of your window there. And we do have some volunteers monitoring the chat box just in case you have some questions or need some help. As well, you can change your screen view. So you'll notice in the top right-hand corner of your screen, it's either going to say gallery view or speaker view. And you can toggle that back and forth throughout the event to see everybody on the call or only the host or the speaker at the time. And you can also do this while somebody's sharing a screen. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, as well, throughout the duration of our talk, just double check, make sure you are on mute. That just helps control the audio for us. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, I'm just going to take a couple minutes and thank all the great people and companies that help make this all happen. So first off, our global sponsors. Thank you to MailChimp, Creative Mornings' official global partner for marketing. MailChimp recently acquired Courier Media. It's a bi-monthly magazine that delivers real stories, insights, and more to help you work better, live smarter, and be happier. MailChimp and Courier have teamed up to offer the Creative Mornings community a gift in honor of presenting this month's theme, Underdog. Courier has made an exclusive digital mini edition of their annual issue, Business of Design, just for the Creative Mornings community. It's free. It's full of insights, tips, and case studies of creatives and designers who are building successful businesses. You can download Courier by visiting couriermedia.co/creativemornings. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to copy that text, and I'm going to paste that into the chat box right now for your reference. There, should have that. Great. Okay, next up, thank you to WordPress.com, Creative Mornings' official global partner for web publishing. The beloved Own Your Own Content series is back for an encore. For season 3, we're revisiting our favorite insights to learn various ways we can honor our work by owning our content, especially in the face of uncertainty. You can check out the library of interviews and resources at ownyourowncontent.wordpress.com to hear from the likes of John Maeda, Kat Holmes, Jen Hewitt, Luvi AJ, Maria Popova, Paul Jarvis, and many more. So I am also going to copy and paste that into the chat box. Okay. And finally, thank you to Basecamp, Creative Mornings' official global partner for project management. Hey is a new email service made by the folks at Basecamp. It's designed around their belief that your inbox can be delightful and is a completely new way of approaching mail. You can take it for a spin for a 14-day free trial at hey.com. So, as well, I will put that into the chat box if you want to reference that later. Okay. Now, I'd like to take a quick moment here to thank our local sponsors. So first up, big thanks to Jason Sweet, our official photographer for the Calgary chapter. As well, a shout out to Rod Anderson from Sandbox Brand Marketing. Reveal and align what makes you great. Everyone deserves a better brand. Your story is your brand, and it plays out in your company every day. As well, the coffee you would have been drinking this morning is from the Roastery. So established in 1985, the Roastery is Calgary's original specialty coffee shop, bringing the art of coffee roasting to the public. They have promoted exotic and exceptional coffees to connoisseurs and adventurers for the past 30 years. As well, I do want to recognize our video sponsor, Day One Media, helps businesses tell great stories with video, touching the heart and mind of your customer. And I do want to thank C-Space, where we normally have our events. If you're from Calgary and this is your first Creative Morning event and haven't been to C-Space, make sure you come back once things are opened up. It's a beautiful arts community in this city. And finally, just I want to recognize the Creative Morning volunteers. This really doesn't happen without the help of everybody involved. Okay, let's get on with the event. So the global theme this month is Underdog. The format for today is going to be a 20-minute talk. We're going to keep everyone on mute during this time. So please double check right now if you're on mute. And after the talk, we're going to separate into random breakout rooms of about 5 to 6 people each for 10 minutes. And you're going to get a chance to meet some of your fellow attendees and talk about what resonated with you. Make sure you introduce yourself. Don't forget to unmute yourself at that time. Turn on your camera. And if you have any issues, you can always leave the breakout rooms anytime and head back to the main room by clicking the Leave Room button. And so after 10 minutes, we'll all come back and we'll do a final Q&A for about another 10 minutes. All right. Our guest this morning is Gil Ngai. Gil is a digital storyteller who helps businesses tell great brand stories through films and virtual events. His business, Day One Media, has worked with national brands down to local businesses. Making connections between people as well as between businesses and their followers is what drives Gil's work. He's also been an avid sponsor of Creative Mornings. And Gil, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you've been coming to Creative Mornings pretty much since our very first event 4 years ago. So please help me welcome Gil, and I'm going to turn the presentation over to him right now.
Hey, it's great to get together. Stampede Week, I put on my cowboy shirt here. I'm not sure I really make that good of a cowboy, so but it's a sunny day. It's great to be together. You know, I really miss actually getting together. It's one of the things that kind of set my groove once a month to get together and see many of you. And I really miss that. I miss the roastery coffee. I miss familiar faces and just having in-person gatherings. So what a tough time it's been. What a strange time. I hope you're all doing okay. And, you know, we need these gatherings. And it just, you know, thanks again to Steve and the core Creative Mornings team. It's been one of my favorite places to hang out, and just because it sets that kind of regularity to life of getting together with the same people and building community. So I don't know if you know how to control all that, but I'm just going to make sure that you kind of can see me, and then I'm going to share my slides and just kind of have both of them going at the same time, so that hopefully that's possible, because I'm going to try to show you some stuff on screen as well as in the slide deck. So again, a little bit about me. I love telling stories. I believe stories is like the currency that kind of carries generations from one to another, and it keeps the traditions that we have as people alive. And so helping people tell stories is a great passion of mine. You may see me glancing off kind of a little bit to the side. I'm not like, you know, trying to take care of my dog or anything. I've got a separate monitor so that I can kind of monitor the chat and see what everyone is kind of saying. So I'm going to jump in here and just share my screen. How's that looking, everybody?
Looks great.
Awesome. All right, cool. Sorry about that. And yeah, thanks, Aaron, for your hard work there. I love that we can see it on screen live like that. It's so cool. And your contribution is absolutely huge. So, all right. So today I'm going to take you on a little trip through my career journey. Hopefully you have a coffee in hand, and it won't be a bedtime story for you. I want to share this story because, you know, when I meet people and after they learn what I do, they have this impression that I have a really cool life, that it must be so creative and fun to make films, work with famous people sometimes, and play with a lot of cool gear. And, you know, I want to just kind of break that down and talk about, hey, is this really all true? Or maybe it's just one big myth. But let's take a closer look together, and we'll take a little trip together. So by the way, this was shot out in just west of Cochrane. It's just a beautiful area, great place to go for a country drive if you want to do something during the pandemic. That is great for distancing. So this is my team. We have a lot of fun together, but I'm going to ask you to vote. You look at this picture and go ahead and put it in the chat box and tell me, like, is this real? Is this like maybe it's just a photoshopped picture? Maybe it's fake, or, you know, is this actually a real photo? So go ahead and just like type that into the box. You could write whatever you want. And my chat box kind of disappears, so maybe Stephen can see what the results are there.
Okay, just keeping an eye on it. Partially shopped. Sort of seemed to getting more shopped. Photoshop seems to be winning.
Photoshop seems to be winning. All right. Well, that actually is a great answer because it really relates to what I'm talking about today. So, although it's actually the wrong answer because this is absolutely 100% real photo. We did not do anything to doctor it up.
Side
So,
note, Gil, I voted real.
all right, way to go. So, the guy on the right, Matt, one of my team members, he looks like he's jumping, but he's actually just like hanging onto a tree on the side of the picture. And everybody is in fact just standing there. There's no Photoshop at all on this photo. But that really leads me to my next point is that we see a lot of work like this, a lot of images like this of people having fun, of people enjoying themselves on social media. We see posts from companies that want to tell you how great their culture is, their team is, having a great time together. And if all their posts look like this much fun all the time, well, they're probably lying to you. So honestly, like if I saw this picture of a company, initial thought would be, yeah, they're having a lot of fun. But then I'd start to be thinking, these guys don't look like they really work much. They're having way too much fun. I don't know if I really want to hire these guys. And so my point is that, not everything is that real out there. And we tend to kind of fall into the trap of thinking, I'm not good enough, or we're not doing enough cool stuff, because we're always seeing 24/7 what everyone else is doing. And so all that to say, look beneath the surface more. It's not always greener on the other side. And this is a shot actually from last weekend. I was working with Lisa Guerrero, who was also here with us today, also a previous speaker from Creative Mornings when we shot this. And it's because there's two sides to Edworthy Park here in Calgary. And if you've been there, there's the north and south side. And if you end up at the north here, there's this awesome cafe, which is a great place to hang out, called Angels. But then there's this like huge construction project going on with some utility building of the city. And it's like a huge mess and an eyesore. And so you get two really different impressions of the same park. It's super green, it's super foresty on the south side. And when you come over here, you see all this construction and all this mess. And it's, two really opposing views of the same place. And so you can get a very different impression based on whichever side you were on. So don't get stuck with what I call NVI. Just keep focusing on your own goals and keep moving. So let's get back to the topic of the day. Sorry, that was a bit of a diversion there, but what is an underdog exactly? So I had to really look that up myself. And it's a person who has little status in society, a competitor that is thought to have little chance of winning. And, that describes my growing up to a T. I didn't win any awards. I was shy, had no friends. I didn't even do well at school. I was that sheepish kid that was quiet in the corner, hoping to get involved, hoping to be included. And to top it off, I was a small kid. And frankly, I'm kind of small still now. And somehow just being small made some people think that I was weak and not of much use. So I had to deal with that. I had to deal with being bullied, and there was lots of racism back then. Um, and you'd argue that there might be a lot of that going on still now. And that was a rough start, really, for anyone in those kind of circumstances. But luckily, the story doesn't end there. And I'm going to tell you about my first job. And it was at the Bay. That's right, the Hudson's Bay Company, Canada's oldest retailer. And in fact, a company perhaps soon to be almost extinct because they're struggling. And this was probably what I considered my first achievement in life. In high school, I got a job at the Bay department store in the camera department, which was a huge achievement for me. And so while I was working there, I naturally got interested in photography, and I decided to buy my first camera with my staff discount. And I got that camera right here still. And so here it is. This is, hopefully you could see it, it's an old-fashioned film camera. And so some of you young ones, but maybe you haven't never even seen a film camera. It's all made out of metal, which is amazing. Like, you don't see that anymore these days. It actually opens up and uses film. And I love this camera, and I used it for a long time, and it's kind of what brought me here today. But the story behind this camera was that I was going to buy this camera at the end of one of my shifts. And so it was very busy at the store, and I decided to look at this camera when the store was closed and I would have time to actually check it out and make my decision. And so while I was looking at the camera, getting ready to buy it, I noticed one of these loss prevention guys in the store. And he was like hiding behind poles and stuff, like spying on me. I thought, well, this is kind of weird. And, I was kind of a playful guy, and I just thought it would be fun to kind of lead him on a little bit. And so I put the camera back and I locked it away, and I started to like run around the store hiding behind things just to see what he would do. And he chased me, but still trying to hide. And we did this kind of cat and mouse thing all over the store. And I thought this was just like the funniest thing ever. And I had so much fun with it until I got finally to the exit, in which the powers to be completely like reamed me out. And it was not a happy day after that. And in fact, I actually got fired from the job for doing this. So that was the end of my dream of my first job. And, when I meet people, a lot of them ask me, how did you get here? And it's almost like they expect that I'll just kind of hand them a roadmap and say, well, yeah, I took this road and here I am, just like that. But really, this is the reality. And that is, I was fired from 10 jobs and even rejected from 2 schools after I was accepted into them. And so, frankly, that's all pretty embarrassing. But I'm still willing to bare my soul to you and lay it all on the line today. So this is my first school. After high school, somebody mentioned to me, maybe you want to apply to this school, because I was the kid with like no direction at all. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I thought, well, I like art. And so I applied. And I was actually accepted into Emily Carr in Vancouver. And I picked up my life and moved to this big city of Vancouver. I had no idea what I was expecting, what was going to happen. And after I got there, I realized this was actually a very competitive school. Like, it was kind of a prestigious place. So I'm not blowing my own horn because I was a clueless actually. And it was so competitive that you had to reapply every year to stay in this school. So after year one, I actually didn't make the cut. And my bubble was like totally burst. I was like heartbroken. So I had to quickly find another school. So that was my first rejection right there at school. And then I applied. I got into Grant McEwen in Edmonton, into their graphic design program. But after I was accepted, they told me the program was full. So I was baffled, like, was I accepted or not? And they told me, well, you could take some general courses and probably a space might open up later in the year. Well, this was absolutely like mind-boggling to me, but totally deflating. So I kind of waited patiently, and thank God in like 2 months later, a spot actually did open up. Like somebody dropped out, which I think is a miracle, but I got in. And after 2 hard years of a lot of work and late nights, I graduated as a graphic designer with great anticipation. And I was ready to be a famous designer whose work would be seen by the entire world. So here we go, world, I'm ready for you. And so what was my first job? I'm going to ask you to guess. So let's do another quick survey there. Just shoot absolutely anything that you think would have been my first job. And I'm going to get Stephen again to help me out here because I got too much stuff on my screen here. So
Sounds good. They're just coming in right now. We have Hudson Bay, Yellow Pages ads, newspaper, packaging designer, retail, coffee shop, McDonald's, full singles in your area, creating ads for newspapers.
Awesome. Well, this was my first career job. It was at a sign shop. So a lot of you weren't that far off. A sign shop, dark, dirty, dusty, depressing, not creative, not glamorous, not even fun. It looked just like this. I'm hanging around with a bunch of welders and construction guys. And I had this classmate that I graduated with, and we'd meet up for drinks, and he'd tell me about the ad agency he was working at. He was doing logos for the Olympics. Like, wow, that's great. He'd ask me, Gil, what are you working on these days? Well, I just designed an awning for an auto body shop. I mean, what's wrong with this picture, right? So, and to top it all off, after a year at this place, they kind of just decided, design's not really important for signage. We're going to let you go. So there I was fired from my first career job. What a way to start a career. So again, this is another myth that it's not glamorous, this kind of career. This journey has not been glamorous. I mean, there were some sweet moments mixed with a lot of work, but not glamorous. And it made me realize that, my life is a journey and not a destination. And when I was young, I'd always wanted to get there. I don't know what there was, but I always felt like, I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to arrive. And now, even at my age, I realize it's a journey. And it's still a journey. And I'm still going places. Do we have any VW fans out there? Old VW fans? This is my van. Our family goes traveling in it. And we have a love-hate relationship with it. It's an 85. So it's really old. Everything's original on it. And it breaks down every year. So I hate this thing, but I love it at the same time. But my point is that we always figure it out in this van and in my life. Problems come up all the time and disappointments come up, and I fall down, but I get back up and I keep moving. Here's my next job. It gets even better than this. So if you're having fun, I hope you are, because there's more fun to be had. This is my next job. It is designing VHS sticker ads. Like, did you even know such a thing existed? Well, I didn't. So I got a job at this marketing company that specialized in ads for VHS boxes at video rental stores. Like, think Blockbuster and the corner store. Yep, I did all those famous ads on all those videos you rented in the 80s and 90s. And to top it off, my boss yelled at me every day, telling me that I wasn't working fast enough. So, you know, like after a year of this, I had enough, and I decided I am just going to go to work and quit. No more of this. And as I was doing that, he fired me at the same time. And I had absolutely no backup plan. So here's two major fails at starting a career. You know, for some people, for me, I was inclined to throw in the towel and call it quits. Like, that's enough. Like, this is terrible. This is going nowhere. But the best decision that I ever made as a young man was to be a man of faith. And it's what carried me through these discouraging times. And I found so much wisdom and encouragement. And I got a lot of that in the Bible and from God. And here's a gem that really helped me tremendously. This is a quote from Philippians in the Bible. And it says, "Forgetting what is behind and straining towards what is ahead, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus." So in other words, when life beats you up, you gotta get back up and keep moving and keep your focus on your big goal. And this quote always reminded me, it's Gil, forget those failures. Leave them behind. Stop thinking about all of that and milling it over and keep moving towards where God was leading me. Stop dwelling on those losses and replaying failures. Let the past go. But I know that that's easier said than done. And I know for some of you, you've suffered deeply, like way more than what I'm talking about here, like losing jobs. Like, you've been wounded deeply. And that's when you have to take the time to reach out, get help, and find healing. And I remember Connie Jacob, who was speaking at Creative Mornings a while ago, and she really encouraged us to just take the time to take care of yourself, take care of your health, both mental and physical, and get healed if you're in that situation. And that's what I had to do, was just not ignore the pain, but to process it through and be healed so I can move forward. So now what happens after all of this? After all these fails, I decided that it was time to follow my heart. I needed to follow my heart. This is a shot here that I did with Wakefield Brewster, who also spoke at Creative Mornings. He's a spoken word artist, tremendously talented. And we did sort of this creative scene of him walking into the light. And if you follow your heart, you are going to find the light. You're not looking back, you're looking forward. Keep looking forward. Here's another quote that's from Luke in the Bible. It says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart is also." And so I needed to know, what was my treasure that my heart was going to follow. What do I really value? Did I just want to make lots of money, drive fast cars, be famous for my work? But, you know, after really taking the time and working that through, I realized I wanted to use my skills, my talents to help people do good in the world. I didn't know what that would look like exactly, but I knew what I wanted to do. And I decided I needed to start my own business. And so I started a business being a freelance graphic designer. And this is what it looked like. Yeah, you know, this is pretty realistic. You know, I couldn't get a photo of myself back then, but I was only 22 actually. And I was a freelance graphic designer in Edmonton. I bought a Mac LC2 computer. Anybody like remember those computers back then, all beige, and a laser printer. And I set up shop in my bedroom of a shared frat house I was living in. And I thought, you know, I can't run a business in a bedroom. So I decided I'd get rid of my bed so that clients could come over and it would look sort of like an office. So there's no bed. And I bought a foamy, like from a garage sale. And I would like sleep on the floor on the foamy and watch Photoshop 2 render like a photo overnight. That this was the era of how long it took to render a photo 1 pixel at a time. It was painful. And I'd get up in the morning and the photo would be rendered and I'd take that foamy, I'd shove it in the closet, close the door, and my office was ready to go. And I was determined to succeed, or at least to eat. I mean, I was hungry and stupid, and I didn't know the difference between the two, but I just wanted to make it. And so freelancing, again, was not glamorous whatsoever. And so, you know, there's lots of freelancers here. So, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, those late nights. But I worked hard and I pounded on a lot of doors. And this came about. I pounded on so many doors that finally one of the agencies in town gave me this big gig. And it was to create all the promotional content for Bobby McFerrin's concert in town. And if you don't know Bobby McFerrin, look him up. He's like super talented guy. And I thought I had won the jackpot. I mean, this was a world famous musician. And I did that project brilliantly. I did all kinds of collateral and posters and everything for the show. And everyone was thrilled. And I thought I had arrived. Because all the celebrities are going to line up at my door at my frat house and come up to my bedroom and give me work. So I was getting ready for the parade to show up. And that didn't happen at all. Like, in fact, nothing really changed. And I continued to just work on a lot of tiny projects. So I learned a lot in those years, but I learned mostly about how much I didn't know. After 4 years in the business, I was offered a job at a charity called Samaritan's Purse in Calgary. And at that time, it was a charity that no one had ever heard of. And people would say, where are you going to work? Oh, I've never heard of that, a charity. Oh, that's great. Yeah, good luck. And it was a difficult decision because I felt like I had birthed a baby with this business. It had survived 4 or 5 years. I felt like I had made it. And I wasn't even just eating Mr. Noodles. But I took a chance. I took a chance and went to this charity to take this job. I picked up my whole life and moved to Calgary. Everything I owned fit into one car with that old Mac LC2 computer. And I learned you can't judge a book by its cover because opportunities come in all shapes and sizes. And this little charity that no one had ever heard of actually sent hundreds of thousands of shoebox gifts. You may have heard of this. Operation Christmas Child happens every year. It sends these gifts to poor children around the world. And I was the one who designed that box that you see there. They're still using it, and everything that promoted this program. And it was huge. It had this massive impact around the world. And it helped so many poor children and families. And it changed my life. So always look below the surface. Dig a little deeper. Well, all the good things would come to an end. And I was laid off from this job during the recession when they had to make budget cuts. Then I saw a post at Avenue magazine. Yes, Avenue magazine, the iconic brand that everybody knows. I became the senior designer at Avenue magazine. By all accounts, this was the epitome of success, a brand that was an Alberta icon. Everyone knew this. Everyone would see my work. It was finally a dream come true. And I couldn't have been more wrong. I was a newlywed at the time. My daughter was just born. And I was working 12 hours a day, staring at a screen, moving little boxes around to perfect the magazine, to meet a deadline that never went away, that renewed over and over every single month. As soon as it was over, the next magazine was getting ready to come out. And again, it never ended. And it was like being on a hamster wheel. I loved the magazine, but for me, it wasn't right for me. I'd come home exhausted with nothing left for my family, and it was just destroying my personal life. And to top it off, this magazine was taken over by another magazine called Inc. And they laid off a ton of staff, of which I was one of them. So again, I was back. I felt like I was back to zero again. And I realized the road to success is absolutely full of failure. And it's not if I'm going to fail, but when. And when what happens, how can I recover quickly? How can I keep moving? And in fact, how can I fail faster? If I can get through those fails and fail faster, I can get back up and keep moving. So after leaving Avenue, does anyone know what this building is? Anybody have seen it at all? A Calgary building, very unique. And it's not warped because of the photo. This building is in fact warped like this. Very, very crazy architecture. This is the building of iStock. So I'm assuming most of you know iStock. You probably used one of their files or seen one for sure. iStock is the biggest stock media agency in the world. I literally crossed over the railroad tracks from Avenue and walked into iStock and applied for a job. And I got a job there. And again, I thought nothing could be better. My life has finally arrived. iStock was like a household name in the media world. I couldn't imagine anything better. But again, I was dead wrong. I spent 8 hours a day staring at hundreds of files of other people's work every single day. And for me, there was no creativity whatsoever. I was losing my spirit at this job, and I was having trouble sleeping at night. It wasn't the right job for me, but I didn't have the courage to leave. And 4 years later, Getty Images took over this company and they did a mass layoff. And when they announced that they were going to do this, I literally called my wife on the phone and I said, honey, they are laying people off today. But should we pray that I am one of them? Literally, I said that. Because I wanted to get out, and this was an excuse or a way of doing it. And I was one of those people. And it was humiliating. There's nothing worse than being laid off in front of all of your colleagues. But it was a blessing in disguise, because if you believe in God, you'll find he has a great sense of humor. The path he picks for us is never a straight one. And that's because I needed to meander through the wilderness and through all of those failures to become who I am today and who I will be tomorrow. So what did I do with that blessing in disguise? I went back to school. I'm kind of a slow learner, but I finally realized that I needed to stop chasing after money and titles and brand names. I was made to help people and help people do good. But here was the problem here. I was going to school at 44, which I don't know how many of you have gone back to school later in life, but that is really hard. Like, the brain does not work like it does when you're 20. Just things are not firing. And so it was a huge struggle, but I studied so hard for a year, learning how to start a business properly. And so I realized that in life, if you want to reach your goal, you've got to do what it takes and not be afraid of that. It's full of hard work, but be willing to do what it takes. Don't be scared of it. Don't be scared to do whatever you have to do to follow your dream. And find people who will walk with you and encourage you. Build a community. And that's what Creative Mornings has been great for me, just connecting with people that are on the same plane, who get me, who are on the same road together. And those people will help you when you fail, and you will fail, and that's okay. It's all part of the journey. Here's a shot of me when I started the business. I like this picture because it represents my journey really well. On the surface, it might look like I'm on some sort of a big movie set and, being director or something. But in fact, it was actually like a low budget Chinese restaurant with literally no budget. And I had just borrowed this big camera for a shoot because I didn't even have a decent camera at the time. And I didn't, want them to know that. And so I borrowed this big camera, and I didn't even have any idea how to use this thing. I had to learn on the spot. So, I'm actually like peering around the camera, trying to figure out what all these buttons do. But this represents my journey so well. This learning on the spot, continually having to learn. And it also represents how I lead my team today, that we're in it together. We fail together, we learn together. Nobody gets punished for trying new things that don't work. So back to that question about the beginning, what actually is true about what I do now? Well, I do indeed use cool gadgets, which are fun. I help people tell great stories, but I've learned to keep moving. I try to fail faster so I can recover. I keep learning every step of the way. And even though that hurts my brain, I do it because I know that won't ever change. And I follow my heart to keep doing good in the world. I'm Gil Ngai. You can find me at dayonemedia.ca. Thanks for being here with me today.
Well, thank you, Gil. That was excellent. I wish you could hear the applause right now.
That's awesome.
All right.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Gil, I was talking with you once about, I think universally people enjoy working strategically with clients as opposed to tactically. And you made a comment about something about you have to sometimes earn those relationships of trust to do strategic work by actually doing a good job on tactics. I don't know if you do you have any thoughts about that? Like what has worked best for you to nurture relationships of trust so that you can do strategic work as opposed to, you know, an order taker?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. It's really all about relationships. So, you know, like nobody really cares about what you can do until uh, they know that you actually care about them. So, you know, most of us actually spend a lot of time kind of when we market talking about what we can do, how good we are, what our teams look like, what our processes look like. And what I found is that, yeah, that probably matters. It does matter to have some of that, but that's not the first thing. The first thing is that relationship. It's that connection between you and somebody else. So business is between people, and real relationships. And the relationships that go the furthest for me, the clients that keep coming back, are the ones that I have a real relationship with. And so don't bring business to the first thing that you do. Build the relationship, connect, talk about personal things, be authentic, talk about your failures even, because it puts you in a place that allows people to relate. And the vulnerability really connects people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was great. Anybody else wants to jump in? Got a quiet crowd today.
Well, maybe I could ask a question. What do you see is the trend, or you know, the next you know, business opportunity with all this COVID that's happening? You know, are more and more people gearing towards, you know, online type of business, and you know, just your thoughts on you know, if you have that crystal ball.
Absolutely. That's a great question. And truly, the world will never be the same again. So things have changed tremendously. As you can see, like our, you know, pandemics and viruses and sicknesses, like this whole idea isn't even really going away, even if they, you know, find a cure or a vaccine. There's going to be another one, a different one, and there's no way to keep up with these things. And so this idea of finding a different way to connect is going to be huge. And that's why, you know, things like this, like Zoom, like went just crazy, right? From, you know, a successful company to like unbelievable, mind-blowing. And if you are able to figure out technology, if you're able to find tools that are going to help people connect, people want connection, people want community, but they need to know how that's going to work within the context of the world today, where there are limitations, where there are requirements that they have to follow. And so we're trying to follow that. We're trying to figure that out today. And when we're moving towards virtual events, but not just virtual events that are like watching webinars, because that was around, but events like this where there is actual connection, where people can connect, where there is like breakout rooms like Stephen did, where there's real conversations. That needs to happen. And so yeah, I think that's where it's moving. And you know, find tools that help people connect.
Okay, thanks, Gil.
That was great. Thank you. I'm going to end the sort of the official portion of this meeting. So thank you very much, everybody. We're probably going to have a few more of these virtual events before we get back into C-Space. We're maybe looking at September for some modified real-time meeting, as well as maybe streaming it online. So we have both. But I'm going to leave this meeting open if anybody just wants to casually chat for a few more minutes if you want. But that's it. Thank you very much, and see you next month.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hi, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
So Gil, I have a question. My name is Brent. Do you have a moment?
Yeah, I don't know how long Stephen will keep this on, but we can make it quick.
No worries.
Oh, okay. You were talking about tools to promote connection a moment ago, and so I'm going to just throw out some numbers here. If 80% of human communication is verbal and body positioning, as well as that sense of that gut feel, what tools or ideas or strategies have you come across that help take us more in the direction of that ability to communicate and connect in this virtual world?
Well, you know, yeah, I'd probably be a millionaire if I could give you like the exact answer to that. But basically, we need our meetings to feel like real meetings, as though I was meeting you at Creative Mornings right now and connecting. But at the same time, it has to be virtual in some ways. And so, you know, what we're doing right here now is not bad. But the reality is that in life, when we get together, we're not sitting at desks, you know, staring at each other. So how can we make that look more real? Well, first I need to be standing up, and first I need to be, not in my pajamas like some people might be. And so, you know, the camera shouldn't be staring at the ceiling or up my nose. So there's all these little details that we need to refine to make a virtual connection feel like the real one. And the more we can sort of fix all those little things and make it feel like, hey, it feels like I'm actually standing here looking at you talking, then the more successful that's going to be, and people will adopt that. And I'm trying to figure out all those things out today, and using that technology for clients.
Yeah, I don't think technology is quite there yet to get us. I find I'm doing on Zoom so much. I think it's called Zoom fatigue, where you get tired of that. There's something different about, or more taxing when you're trying to have a conversation with people on a computer.
You mean no 3D holograms like Star Wars?
That would be a nice step for sure.
So Gil, what I heard you say is to try and position, replicate, have one of my small group folks I was working with likes to talk with her hands, so she positioned her camera so she was doing that and able to present herself in a more real fashion. I noticed your background is also something I'm going to assume you chose as well. So thank you for that.
For sure. It's a real background, by the way, not fake. Cool. Anybody else?
I just want to say thank you for sharing all that, and like it just gave me a little bit of thinking back of my own journey, and that part that you said about it's not like whatever it happens next is not this thing, because we think, well, I just need to do this next thing to get to where I want, but it just keeps happening, and when you get that, then there's the next one and the next one and the next one. Yeah, it's just like seeing our journey, our story, and the things that happen, and I just like grateful to that all that happened so I can be where I am right now.
Yeah, I find it so refreshing in this world of curated social media feeds where everybody's perfect and everything's beautiful. It's refreshing to kind of listen to a story of things that don't work out as planned, and struggles and that we all deal with, and we may think we're dealing with alone, but I think everybody's going through their version of it. So it's really nice to hear that and connect with that. So thanks again. Okay, well, unless anybody has a burning question, I think I may close this down. So speak up now.
Last chance.
Last chance. Yeah, till next month. Okay, going once, going twice. That's it. Thanks, guys. Have a great Friday and weekend.
Yeah. Thanks a lot,
Thanks so
everybody.
much.
You bet.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.